Well, this is Jared with Stampede Blue. This is your Indianapolis Colts post-game wrap, and the Colts got a big win at home today and beat the Denver Broncos. Final score 15-13, and frankly, the Colts won this game today because T.Y. Hilton did T.Y. things, right? Largely held in check by Chris Harris Jr., so hats off. Uh, 2 catches on 6 targets, but when it counts, uh, big-time players make big-time plays. Jacoby Brissett escaped a sack in the end zone. Von Miller had him in his clutches. Jacoby escapes, keeps his head up, and throws a dime to Jacoby Brissett to keep the Colts' hopes alive. And then, of course, who else to win the game other than Adam Vinatieri? And while people are burning Adam Vinatieri at the stake and saying that he needs to be replaced, I want to make sure that I point out that there are 2 other kickers in the NFL with 4 missed extra points. And they are 2 other elite kickers in the NFL, and that's Keamy Fairbairn, the Houston Texans kicker, and Steven Gostkowski, the Patriots kicker. Each of Adam Vinatieri, Steven Gostkowski, and Keamy Fairbairn, they all have 4 missed extra points on the season. And if you look at the rest of the NFL in terms of kickers, they're not having a great season. Okay, so I understand the notion, right? Like Colts win this going away if he hits an extra point, converts that field goal, and I don't care if he can hit a 55-yarder if he can't hit the 45-yarder. Again, kicking has not been great in the NFL. It's been a topic getting eliminated, forcing everybody to go for 2. Teams are starting to go for it on fourth down instead of kicking a field goal, just because the other team has so much of a higher proclivity to score a touchdown. It kind of eliminates the need, right? And it's not necessarily the greatest way to win or lose a football game is the kicking game, but you get wins when you have to have them. The ugly ones still count as a dub, right? The Colts are 5-2, 3-1 at home, having won 5 of their last 6. There was a graphic during the game, and that in the last 16 games, the Colts are 13-3. They moved to 14-2 in their last 16 games. Well, they still be 13-3 because they lost in the playoffs to end the season. So still 13-3 in their last 16 games. The Colts offensive line had its worst outing of the season. So before people are going to burn down Jacoby Brissett's house, just keep this in mind. The big problem here today was the Colts offensive line got worked on passing downs. Jacoby Brissett was pressured frequently. He was sacked a couple times. I think that outside of the fumble play, there are arguments that he holds the ball too long. I would argue that the coverage was fantastic. That is an elite Denver defense, and all those guys are playing for their futures. Chris Harris Jr. and Von Miller, I don't even think they'll be on the Broncos next year because if I were those players, I wouldn't want to be in Denver because I don't think that franchise is being run as a winning franchise. They played losing football today. Joe Flacco said it all in the end of the game. When it came down to it, they weren't aggressive enough. They should have done things differently. And I'm one of those people. I'll just tell you, you're going to win games because of Adam Vinatieri, and the same notion you're going to lose them. Similarly, everybody's going to be chopping down Jacoby Brissett and saying that he was limited today. Again, I would argue that pass rush was impeccable. Von Miller got home. The difference in this game, in terms of obviously the score, is that when it came down to it in the end of the game, Jacoby Brissett just does not go down easily. And if Von Miller wasn't falling down trying to sack Jacoby there, that's a safety. And instead, Jacoby escapes his clutches, keeps his eyes up downfield, and throws probably one of the best balls you'll see all week to T.Y. Hilton, who did T.Y. things when it mattered. But again, it really comes down, I think, to the Colts defense. And I get it. The Denver offense is terrible. But they really did limit Freeman. They let Philip Lindsay get his. And one of the issues that I'll bring up is that I think Clayton Geathers needs to see decreased playing time. I think that he missed some tackles today, trying to shoulder tackle guys that are going to shake those off instead of squaring a guy up and putting your shoulder pads into his rib cage and just taking him down. I think that's an area of improvement the Colts could work on. Obviously, you'd like to see him get a little more active in the pass rush, but I feel like today they actually did that. Justin Houston had a sack. Autry went down with an injury. I think the Colts will be fine. They were supposed to be the healthiest they'd been coming in, but then Pierre Desir and Quincy Wilson were healthy scratches, and I think that affects the secondary play when a guy like Pierre Desir, who would have been on Cortland Sutton all game, and that moves Rock Ya-Sin onto the number 2 receiver, and then maybe Spencer, number 11, doesn't quite do what he did to the Colts in the first half. He got pretty much blanked in the second half, by the way. So hats off to the Colts coaching staff, right? Got outplayed in the first half, and then from their 5th possession of the first half, where they get that field goal, and then through the remainder of the game, the Colts offense was able to move the football and score points, and that was kind of the difference, is that, you know, there are 2 halves of football games. That's why they play games on Sunday, and anything can happen. So certainly could have lost that game, but we didn't. I even had to take a little break after the game was over to decompress and say, you know, perspective's a hell of a drug. And all things considered, this was just a close football game that was hotly contested by people that are playing for their future. And I get it, isn't everybody? No. But guys like Von Miller or Chris Harris Jr. gets to kind of put that, you know, he gets a star for today, right? He really did limit T.Y. Hilton. So hats off where they go. The Colts are 5-2, 3-1 at home, first in their division. And enjoy the rest of the games this week. This has been Jared with Stampede Blue. This is your Indianapolis Colts post-game wrap. We'll see you after next week's game at the Steelers.